All right, good evening, America. It's 7 p.m. on the East Coast and 6 p.m. in God's country, which means it's time for Fox News Primetime. I'm Pete Hegseth, and tonight, as Brett did, we start with Joe Biden, who emerged from his hiding to finally take some questions from the press. And after 2 hours of Q&A, we have to ask, what did we just watch? Biden, of course, pulled out all of his hits.
Look, very few schools are closing. Over 95% are still open. 95% are still open. And I got Strom Thurmond to vote for it. Look, again, how can I'm taking too long answering your questions. I apologize. I think that.
And despite plenty of awkward pauses and lots of whispering, Biden made sure to pat himself on the back for the failure his presidency has become.
I didn't overpromise, but I have probably outperformed what anybody thought would happen. Look, I didn't overpromise, but I think if you take a look at what we've been able to do, you'd have to acknowledge we made enormous progress.
Yeah, just take a look at the record. Not sure what country Sleepy Joe is waking up in or napping in, but not only have we failed to make progress, however he defines it, under his standard under Biden, but the country is actually moving in the wrong direction. Just look at how much more expensive your life has become in Joe Biden's America. Overall prices are up 7%. Your food will cost you 6% more if you can find some with bare shelves Biden. Gas is up almost 50%, and energy costs have jumped nearly 30%. That goes straight to your bottom line. But go on, Joe. Continue to tell us how good of a job, how great of a job you're doing. Maybe the funniest or the saddest part of all is that Biden thinks none of this is his fault. It's those pesky Republicans who are tripping him up, fooling him, that tomfoolery and malarkey at every chance. For a man who ran for president under the guise of uniting the country, he sure is doing a lot of dividing.
One thing I haven't been able to do so far is get my Republican friends to get in the game of making things better in this country. I did not anticipate that there'd be such a stalwart effort to make sure that the most important thing was that President Biden didn't get anything done. Think about this. What are Republicans for? What are they for? Name me one thing they're for.
Oh, he loved debating a straw man. If I may suggest, maybe what the GOP would say they stand for. Maybe, I don't know, closed borders, actual borders, states' rights, federalism, protecting the sanctity of life, defending the Second Amendment, cutting taxes. How about energy independence? That might hit gas prices just a little bit. How about ensuring your personal freedoms when a government wants to lock you down and mandate you? The list goes on and on. What about you and your party, Joe? What do you stand for?
So the difference is I'm going to be out on the road a lot, making the case around the country with my colleagues who are up for re-election and others, making the case of what we did do and what we want to do, what we need to do.
So the answer is Joe Biden is going to hit the road. More Joe, more hearing his incoherence. That was certainly the answer we were all waiting for. Was there an answer in there anywhere? But don't worry, he made sure to tell us what his party stands for. And it's only 3 letters, BBB.
The single best way to take the burden off middle class and working class folks is to pass the Build Back Better piece that are things that they're paying a lot of money for now. If you get to trade off higher gases, you're putting up with higher price of hamburgers and gas versus whether or not you're going to be able to pay for education and or childcare and the like. I think most people would make the trade.
Man, that inspires a lot of confidence. That's how Joe views Build Back Better. It's going to be painful for you, but it'll win him political points he thinks. So this is just another example of how Joe doesn't actually care about you. He doesn't actually know what's going on in your life or how these policies affect you and your family. But his administration has to stand for something more than a failed social spending bill, right? Well, Biden has spent a lot of time trying to federalize our elections. You know, that whole Constitution thing is pesky. And smearing anyone standing in his way. Anyone that doesn't agree with him is, of course, a racist. Listen to how Joe Biden characterized his opponents last week.
Do you want to be on the side of Dr. King or George Wallace? Do you want to be on the side of John Lewis or Bull Connor? Do you want to be on the side of Abraham Lincoln or Jefferson Davis?
So if you want to keep the federal government out of elections, somehow you're Bull Connor or George Wallace or Jefferson Davis. And when Biden was pressed on it today, he got angry, grumpy. And you won't like him when Joe
Look what I
is
said.
angry.
Go back and read what I said and tell me if you think I called anyone who voted on the side of the position taken by Bull Connor that they were Bull Connor. And that is an interesting reading of English. I assume you got into journalism because you like to write.
We just played the tape. I think somebody touched a nerve. He had to explain that 2 or 3 times, and he never did. But that's a perfect encapsulation of Biden's speech/pre-approved press conference. He tried to gaslight you into believing our country is doing great while it goes to hell around him. And when he was pressed on, he gets angry. It's your fault. It's the Republicans' fault. You're not smart enough to understand the amazing things that I've done for you. Today was classic Biden. No sizzle and no substance.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.